Creating nice little Ghibli images is fun, and we all enjoyed it and still enjoy it. And we can do a lot of cool stuff with the new image generation capabilities of OpenAI. But what about real-world examples for brands? And this is what we're going to look into today. And look at this social post image. It's one of our campaigns that we run at Frontify about people. So we showcase the personalities of our people. And it's my example to understand how far can we go already with AI to recreate something like this. And I made some interesting discoveries. I will show you how I see challenges with the AI-only approach, and then also how can a hybrid approach work and how does it compare to a more classic approach? What are the benefits in terms of speed? When is it interesting to look into agents? I will give you a quick intro into agents and tell you how they work. Yeah, and it's only part of the journey. So I hope to learn way more in the coming weeks about this and share with you. But for now, let's get into it. The example we're going to look into today is this social post. It's one in our series of showcasing Frontify people. They include a number of personalities and favorite brands of our employees, and they consist of 4 graphics which are static. So there's one with a headshot and the name of the person, 2 with personal interest images, photographs, and then the last one is a hand drawing of that person of our logo. So that's a rather, I mean, it looks like a simple example, but I will show you there's a number of complexities in that one that are interesting to understand. So if I go and if I want to recreate the same image with OpenAI's image generation capabilities, how I went after it is I gave it this particular image. So this one, I gave it an additional image for another person. So in this case, it's Adam, and I'm simplifying this here in Figma, so it's a bit easier to show. So these were the 2 inputs, and I asked it to regenerate this image or this social post graphic with Adam. And so what it came up with is this. And so if you put them side by side for a second, you can see we have this cropping limitation. OpenAI was pretty open about that in their announcement. So in this, it particularly happens with vertical images. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes I assume they're gonna fix this rather soon. So a few observations here. What you can see is the text, in this case meat and so on, is not too bad actually, it's rather accurate. Then you see that the name Mackenzie was replaced with the name Adam. The positioning is okay and nearly there. You can see that it pretty well understood the idea of having a frame like this border, and then placing the image, like cropping the image properly. So if you look at the 2 images here, so understanding where to crop the image, how to place it here, doing the border radius properly, and so on. So cool. What is interesting is that the image generation mechanism obviously recreates the image from scratch. So the shape is more or less consistent. We obviously from afar would recognize Adam in this case. If you look a bit closer, we see that there's a certain amount of artificial adjustments that have been made to the image of Adam. In this case, obviously the skin is softened and it's all recreated. The eyes are not quite the same, so we lose a bit of the personality. And probably if you ask Adam, he wouldn't say that image is a proper representation of himself. So I assume we're gonna see ways to ensure an exact copy of the image that I give into it, so it will not manipulate it, but it's only cropped, and maybe the background is removed and stuff like that. Seems to be not the case yet, or I just don't know how. So let me know in the comments if you know how this works. And so a few more examples with other folks. So for example, here we have Anna. Same thing here. We see a quite artificial beautifying happening, or I would say it's not actually beautifying, it's more like adding an artificial flavor to it. But you can see the sweater is copied, but it's not the same one, it's just a similar one. Really impressive tech here, but it's obviously not that person, so that's a problem, right? We would not do that. So we have a different nose, we have different eyes, and yeah, even though it's recognizable from afar and might trick some people into believing it's real, it's definitely not. So cool. Another one here with Bubo. So you also see same thing here. Very accurate shapes, very accurate copying of the essence of the portrait, but it's not. It's obviously not the same person anymore. In his case, I would say it's maybe the least extreme, but yeah. Anyway, so what you can also see here is the how the text, even with the same prompt that I've used, is mixed up sometimes. The format is mixed up sometimes, so I get a vertical non-cropped version. The crop of the image is changing over time. And I'm by far not saying that, like, you know, it's not impressive already, but it's just like, if you look at it from a lens of a brand where you require a certain amount of consistency in this, like the same font sizes in this case. So you probably want to be able to control more. You want to have a certain guarantee in consistency, while maybe for other companies it's not that important. So I'm not concentrating on those for now, but like really what happens if you want to reach a certain consistency and quality in that as well. So this is the assessment of a pure AI case. So now I want to take a step back and look at how this is done today, and maybe, you know, deconstruct what is currently happening, and then look into how can we reconstruct the same thing in a more autonomous way. So for that, let's have a look at how such a template is created at the first place. In our case, the design team has created this template in Figma originally. It consists of a number of elements. I will show them here on a piece of paper. We have these few components. So we have Frontify here, people here, meat here, and then down here we have a name. In the middle we have a border, like a frame, and then also we have, in this case, a placeholder, kind of a masked placeholder for the headshot. So this is kind of the template. Sure, there is more pages about the personal interest images and the last one with the drawing, but we're not concentrating too much on them for now. But just on this one first. So the dynamic elements in this template are the image of the headshot of the person, so something like this, and the name. We obviously know it's just the first name, so I mean, this is all very, very basic, right? This is very easy. So we would then take this Figma file and import into into a template system. In this case, obviously I'm biased, you know, we use Frontify for that. There's other solutions out there, but so we import the Figma file into our template solution, and therefore then we have a template within Frontify that looks something like, so this, we have a few pages. The first one, like the one you just saw, we have one where there should be a personal image, and a second one, and the third one should be the hand-drawn nook at some point. But let's focus first on this first page. So normally what you would then do is you click here, you choose, you go and search for the image, in this case of Rick. We want to have a headshot of Rick. So here we have one. I need to take the transparent one in this case. So we add the headshot of Rick. We would change the name here, say Rick. We would maybe go into the image here. We would choose an image here. Let's take mountains for this example. So one mountain here, another mountain here. Yeah, here we go. And then we would export this image into PNGs. We're gonna get the output. Here we go. We have the generated images with all these elements in it. I can download them, and I have PNGs that I can take, and then I go on LinkedIn and I create a post. I need to compile the text, and I'm ready to go. So far, so good. That's already a relatively straightforward process, and I think in this particular example works pretty well. But what if? What if we decide we want to do that completely autonomously? So let's assume we want to have AI just with a simple prompt to create the full thing for us. And we want it to be fully on brand. We want it to be using images that are approved and images that are relevant. And maybe in the future even consider the user input to find the right images and so on. Which brings us to a different approach, an AI. So let's look into how this would work with an AI agent approach. So to understand an AI agent first, we need to understand a few things. What is an agent? I'm not doing, like, you can probably find a million of videos to explain what an AI agent really is doing in depth, but it's not the focus of this video. But what you need to understand is that instead of telling the AI step by step what it needs to do, we just give it a bunch of tools and a bunch of information, and we let it figure it out by itself. So in this particular example, we have a number of existing assets. So in this case, I can show you, we have like an image library here, which has all those headshots in it. We have images about nature, we have lots of editorial images, and so on and so on. And let's assume what we want is that the AI figures out, based on our prompt, you know, where to find all of those assets, in this case the proper headshot for this person that we want. It figures out that it needs to put the first name down there. It figures out that it needs to find personal interest images for the second and the third page. And maybe also it needs to figure out a way to get that drawing. So why would that be useful? If you want to create social images or images generally with more volume, so if you want to have, like, let's say we want to generate 300 of those, and let's take the Let's take the human out of the loop for a second. So we want to generate those for every single person with the right headshot, with the right name, with 2 images about their hobbies, and maybe with a drawing, one of a selection of them. This is not the full idea of this campaign, but you get the point. What happens if you want to have something like that? And we want to have it fully autonomously. So that's the rabbit hole I digged into. And let's have a look how that would look like. The first thing we need to understand is what are our ingredients that we have. So for this wonderful recipe of a Frontify people employee post. The ingredients that we already have, and let's assume we take the human out of the loop, is we have images. So as I said, we have a bunch of headshots. So if I search for Rick headshot, for example, oh, I wrote it the wrong way. So I would find the headshot of Rick in our digital asset management system. So far, so good. I could do that manually. But let's assume this is the pool of resources we want to use. So our DAM, like our image libraries. Then also we could use guidelines of like learning how to write the text, but we skip that part for now. And we also want to make use of the rest of our image libraries to find these personal interest images. So the prompt that I want to do, and the prompt that we work with for this example, is the following. It is, I want to create a new social post for the Frontify people campaign with Anna in it, use a transparent headshot image, and for personal interest, find an editorial image and another one of the office in St. Gallen. So this could be one way of describing what I want, and the result of this process, which we'll go into in a second, will be this. What you can see here is a fully autonomously generated set of images based on existing libraries, based on existing imagery, based on one single prompt that I just described, with limitations. So again, we're not capturing user input in this specific example, so we assume we just take images based on our prompt, and then also the drawing is missing. So that's one for next time. But what you can see here is that we have a perfectly on brand, perfectly on design set of images, completely autonomously generated based on a number of ingredients. And the ingredients are a template, which gives us a certain structure and ensures that the design follows a certain rules and has a certain quality to it. Because it uses the right font files, it's also, the font is obviously always correct. And it uses approved images. You could also generate them, but it's using stuff that is available in your existing system. And that to me looks pretty decent. So how did I do it? First, let's have a look at the template. This is our template within Frontify. I will not go into the details of all the Frontify template capabilities, but just the important bits and pieces that we need for the purpose of our little experiment. So as you remember, we had this template, and what I set up here is a number of variables. Variables, in short, are the things that we want people to change. And why is this important? Because we can define just the elements that we want the AI agent to actually change, and everything else stays untouched. And we can give it an additional set of instructions for each variable. So in this case, I have the name down here. So the name has a description, which is person first name. Then we have this image, which is called headshot. And then we have the image that is used on the second page, which is called personal interest image 1. And the second one, which is called personal interest image 2. And this is our template. So then we published it, so it's available through the API. And now, for those who are less technical, I will give a quick overview without going into technicalities, and then maybe I do a separate video on how exactly I set this up technically. But bear with me, there is a little bit of technical stuff in here, but I think it's good to get a glimpse and understanding of this. So we go into a system called N8N. N8N is an automation platform that you can use in the cloud or install locally, or also deploy in your organization properly and securely. So the things that I want you to look at in this example are not all the details of what's going on here, but in general, how it works is I have an input message, so the prompt that I give into the system, and then I have an agent. The agent consists of a number of inputs. In this case, we have a model. I'm using OpenAI's chat model for this, so the O4 mini model. I can use any model here. I could use also an internal one, so the data stays in a safe environment. Then I have a memory. The memory is used to store the conversation. And then I have a different set of, a bunch of tools. So these tools have capabilities to interact with, in this case, the API of Frontify, so the template API of Frontify, but you can also make it work with any other tool out there. And so how this works is that the AI agent gets a prompt, and it decides based on the prompt, it creates a plan. So basically, hey, probably if a person asks to create a Frontify people campaign, maybe we talk about the brand Frontify. So the agent is going to find the right brand using this brand retriever tool. So then it comes back with the brand Frontify. Great, so we have the brand Frontify. Second, it understands that we talk about the template here. So we need something that I just showed you. We need some template baseline. So for that, it uses the template with retriever, which uses the brand that we got from the previous node, and then gets a list of templates. So all the templates that are available. Think of, you may get like an employer branding post, or like a post about your products. You may have a product database. So there's templates about all kinds of ads. It can be countless templates that are available. So it retrieves this template list and detects which one might be the most fitting one for what the person wants to create. In our case, it finds the Frontify people campaign and finds this template. Then I have the asset retriever, and as you remember, we had in the example here, we know that it needs to find the asset for the headshot. So what it does, it reads the details of this template. So it knows I need to find a first name, I need to find a headshot image, I need to find a personal interest image 1 and a second one. So for those 3 images, it tries to use the asset retriever, which is essentially a search on your digital asset management system, which then finds the headshot of that person and then also finds the personal interest images that you give it. And It works the same way. You have a list of search results, and then eventually the AI agent detects which might be the right image to use in this case. So coming back with a list of assets, and I have this template now, which I know like which fields have to be filled out. And I have this bunch of assets that I found, and I have the name of the person, the full one, but I can also extract the first name, obviously. And the AI agent takes all of this information that it learned from its tools and then generates an actual creative out of it using the API again. So it takes all of those variables that need to be filled out, adds those assets in there, adds the first name in there, and then generates these images and gives me back a zip file with all those images. I could even say, prepare a post on LinkedIn after you've got all those images, prepare a template for the copy, so I only need to adjust it to my needs. And so the result of the whole thing, and I will not run it through, but that's for another video. But the result that I'm getting is the one I showed you. So you can see here, I can now do that for any person in the company. I have like here one for Fabian, here one for Mark, and so on and so on. So I can run this agent for 300 people if I know their interests and if I have all of the headshots available. This is a particularly complicated use case because it includes lots of user inputs that would be required. We need a drawing from the person and so on and so on. So there's a number of complexities that still need to be solved, obviously, in this case. And it's also, where do you start asking this question? How do you make sure your people understand how to launch the process of creating such a campaign post? But I think it already shows that you can, in a very short amount of time, using the right tools, you can get to a really meaningful result, which is truly valuable for brands who care about, it's the right font, it's the right size, it's the right colors, it's the right crops, it's the right original images, it's using approved imagery that is available in the existing systems. So if that is something that you care about, then this is a potential approach to speed up your workflows. And if you think about ad generation using this approach, it's actually pretty crazy. And I think the main benefit today of such an approach versus a pure AI approach is just the consistency in the output. And these, I wouldn't call it perfection, but the excellence that you would require from a brand, you can fulfill with such an approach. So yeah, if you're curious and want to learn more about the details, how this works technically, I might do another video on that. But yeah, that's it for now, and see you next time.